Hi folks, welcome to a brand new video, and this one's something a little bit different. How to save fuel in iRacing, that is the question of this video, and basically I want to give you guys some tips on how you can save fuel in endurance racing, because that is the key to doing well in endurance. How are we doing, folks? Welcome to a brand new video, and this one is something a little bit special. Enduro races, what is the best way to save on fuel? Obviously it's virtual fuel, it doesn't actually cost us any, well, it costs us iRacing subscription, but it doesn't actually cost us any money. But the point is, if you can save a pit stop in a 24-hour race, for example, depending on what pit stop it is, you can actually save like 30 seconds or even a minute 30 just by not doing another stop compared to your competitors. This means it is a huge advantage to try and save as much fuel as possible. Now, there are different cars that do it better and worse than others on fuel saving. So what I want to try and do in this video is try and pick out some techniques that you guys can cross over any car that will save you fuel. So at the moment we are using the Porsche GT3. And we are at Le Mans. So we're not at Spa, even though Spa is in a couple of weeks. So the reason I'm choosing Le Mans and I'm using the historic is because of the Mulsanne straight. It's the longest straight bit of road I think in iRacing you can find. So that is the bit we are going to use. And we're going to do a round of tests to find out what we can do to save our little bits of fuel. And because it's a special video, the special 10 IQ glasses are going on. Let me know down in the comments of what cars you want me to do next. If you want me to do a certain car series or a car class or whatever car you want to do, give me a few options downstairs. Right then, on track, we are at Le Mans and we're on the historic one, mainly because of that long back straight. But this is the GT3 Porsche 922 or whatever it is. But basically, I want to find out in this video how we can save fuel. In endurance racing, saving fuel is a huge amount, particularly in the longer races. So the 6, the 12, the 24, and also it can help in the shorter races as well. So this is what I want to find out. What is the best way to save fuel? And for that, we're going to need some tools. So I'm using Race Labs so you can monitor my throttle inputs, and we're putting up there. And thanks to our in-house TDI channel software guru, bearded sexy man that is Matthew, he has generated us a little widget, if you will, that shows the flow rate. Now this is milliliters per second. So it shows how much the car is actually using, and this is pulled directly from information from iRacing. So this is where we can actually find out what rumors are actually true and what are just complete BS. You know, what is helpful, what isn't helpful. So I'm going to get onto the Mulsanne straight and we're going to do some tests. So you can see here already coming out the pits, I've just gone full throttle and you can see that massive spike on that graph to show us what we're doing in full throttle. Very useful to see this. And obviously if we do go full throttle, you can see how much fuel we're using. Up to 38 milliliters per second, which isn't too bad for a car of this sort of size, I don't think. It seems a lot per second, but it's a race car, so you're going to need it. So we're coming down onto the Mulsanne now, and I'm going to set an active reset because obviously we're going to come back here a while. I would have done this at Spa, but you know, this has got the longest straight and we're going to be doing things in a straight line. You can't really save fuel in corners that much. Normally it's the approach to corners that you can get away with, so please bear that in mind. So I'm going to set up my active reset just around here. Perfect, and let's go. So let's do the baseline first of all, and let's absolutely floor it and to see what happens. And you can see there straight away we're getting into the high 30s there. We're nipping into the 39s. On the downshift we're getting into the 38s, but you can see how much fuel we're using. Obviously as we're going down here and we're just getting a baseline, this will be setup dependent, it will be air temperature dependent, it will be car dependent, but all I'm looking for is the differences of what this car can do. The techniques that save this car fuel will also save other cars fuel. And you can see there we're actually dropping a little bit. The faster we go, the fuel rate is actually going down a little bit, which is a little bit interesting. Didn't expect that. But again, we're seeing the difference live as we're going around the track. You see my throttle is absolutely 100% pinned there. And this is the point of this test, that we can see it live and react to it. So my biggest thing is lifting and coasting. We're coming up to the second Mulsanne chicane. So let's lift and coast. Lift and coasting is a great technique to save fuel, and you can see there our fuel usage went down to 0. So while we were off throttle, the engine wasn't actually using anything at all, which is absolutely brilliant. Lift and coasting is a technique where basically you lift early, you brake later because your car is deaccelerating due to the aero resistance. And again, that's across any car, even if it's a V or a GTP or whatever you want. Lifting and coasting will save you fuel, and this proves that it does actually work in iRacing. So again, lift mega early, look. I would normally brake at that cone, but let's brake at this apex here. And you can see how much fuel we're saving there. Interestingly there, you can see little blips on the throttle where the downshifts. So downshifting actually uses fuel. Now this car, a lot of people, they clutch the car, and on this car it doesn't work in the slightest. So if I get up to the top of 5th gear at this point, and what we'll do is just go around this corner, I will lift off and do the clutch, and you can see the revs are still falling. And also, when we lift off, we're not using any fuel anyway, so the clutch is completely redundant. So if you're in the Porsche, I need to test this in other cars. That's a good point, actually. Let me know in the comments of what other cars you think I should test, because they are going to be different. Give me 2 or 3 cars that you want me testing in the next video, and I'll see if I can do them for you as well. But in the Porsche, the clutch does absolutely nothing. Right, so we're back on the Mulsanne straight. We're just doing our full throttle test. And what I'm going to do, our top speed in the last run was like 169 miles an hour. So I'm wondering, can you use a lot of fuel to get up to that point? And we were kind of getting into 38 as we were getting close to that point. So I'm wondering if you can go like 90% throttle and hold it maybe like 165, 166 like this. How much would you save? So 164, need to accelerate a little bit. 164, 165. So we hold it about 88%. And we are using less fuel. We're using 34, 35. So what this tells me is if you're behind someone, I wouldn't bother bump drafting them, to be fair, because you're still full throttle. You're using all of that jungle juice, and that's not good. If you held the speed consistent with them, you're still going to go faster because you're in their draft. But I mean, look at that, 34.8 now. You're going to save, I mean, 80% throttle, 86% throttle. We're slowing down a little bit. Let's speed up a little bit. You are saving fuel. So yeah, just coming away from that. So yeah, it looks like, in a nutshell, if you want to save fuel on a straight, you can lift off a little bit to save it. Right, next one I want to do now is short shifting. So when we were accelerating, if I do it now, we're getting into the high 37s, high 38s, things like that. So if I brake now, come down a few gears, and I want to go absolutely full throttle, but short shift. As soon as the 2-3 green lights come on, I'm short shifting. And you can see there, we are a little bit lower. Then it peaks up when the power comes in, and then we can drop it back down again. So this tells me again that short shifting can save you a little bit, because when we were full throttle all the way down, it was consistently pinned at that level. When you short shifted down, it dropped a little bit and then came up to that level as the engine was starting to build power. Yes, you might lose a bit of straight line speed, but it's a very, very easy way to save fuel, particularly on a lot of gear change corners. So if I brake again, for example, we were at 37 there, down the gears, short shift. Yes, we're losing acceleration, but our fuel usage at this point is a lot lower until we actually get into that top gear where it does go up to what it was before. So again, in a 24-hour race, this will make a huge amount of difference. So editing me here coming in, and basically I just want to reiterate what the short shifting bit is proving here. My full throttle did not change in the slightest. So a lot of people in iRacing seem to believe that it goes by throttle position is based on fuel usage, and clearly this disproves it. I'm short shifting, the fuel is coming down to 35 instead of the high 39s and 38s. So it's not throttle input, is it? I'm full throttle all the way through, and the only difference is I'm short shifting a lot earlier before even the LED lights come on. So that is a top tip on this one. If you do want to save a little bit of fuel, short shift and it will come down a little bit. It won't be a lot, not as much as the next tip I'm going to show you, which is insane, but it's still worth doing. Right, another test that I want to get out of the way is going into the pits. So, in a nutshell, I am a bad habit for it as well, but I come into the pits, put the pit limiter on, and absolutely mash the throttle. And would you look at that number? Bear in mind, when we were doing 168, 169 miles an hour, we were using like 38 to 39 milliliters of fuel. Doing 37 miles an hour, mashing the throttle at 100%, we're using 27 milliliters of fuel. We're using 2/3 of what we were doing, going a lot faster. So, I hear you cry, what can I do? Well, the first thing you can do, shift into 6th. Saves you look at that. It's 1/3 of what we were originally using. We were using like 25, 26, 27. I know I'm rounding up, but now we're using 9. 9. 6th gear for the win. But if you don't want to change into 6th, which is absolutely fine, again, just use your magic of right foot. You don't need to be on full throttle. 20%, look, 18%, around there. 6.5. 6.2. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And do you know what else you can do with this? Let's add them both. 6th gear, 18% throttle. Goes under 3. 3 milliliters of fuel is going into this engine per second to give us 30 miles an hour. And you can still hear it. We're still hitting the pit lane limiter, so we're not losing any time. Obviously, there is a little trick when you slip between gears and, you know, you can get an extra mile out of it. But more importantly, we're not losing any time, but we're saving a fudge ton of fuel. That is going to be the top tip of this video. Change your pit lane speed limiter activities. Don't be on full throttle. It's just silly. So that is it, done and dusted for the Porsche. As mentioned, we're not looking at how much the fuel the Porsche is actually using. We're looking at the different situations of what it was using fuel in. Obviously, the big one is the pit limiter. If you're going in there mashing fuel, you are using about 2 or 3 times the amount of fuel than what you really need to be honest. And given how long Spa is this weekend, given how long the pit lane is at Spa, it could be useful to try and work it out, try and slow it down a little bit, try and minimize that fuel usage. You might be able to get a little bit longer, that extra lap on a few stints, and it will really make a difference over 24 hours. Otherwise, good luck out there, and I'll catch you on the next one.